Welcome back to the show where we run you through all the Dolphins news you need to know about. After you run through the news you need to know about, we're going to do the fan Q&A where we answer fans' questions. This first news story is really cool, and I think gives me hope as a fan, and really excited for this particular player. This first news story comes from the Finsider. Tua Tagovailoa impressed with Miami Dolphins rookie running back Devon Achane. Jimbo Fisher, I believe, is the Texas A&M head coach. If I'm mistaken on that, I apologize. He also did an interview on a radio show where he said something very similar to what Tua said in this interview, of how quickly Devon can pick up an offense and how quickly he learns an offense. And you match that with his physical ability. I'm really excited to see what he does at the beginning of training camp and what he does in preseason. He has so many great opportunities to affect the game, especially on this Dolphins team, on special teams, and in the passing game. Jimbo Fisher also brought up in the interview how great of a pass blocker he is for his size. And being a great pass blocker, a lot of it is knowing the offense and knowing where you're supposed to be. So not only is he a really physically gifted player, but he's a really smart player too. And Tua says that in the interview, and I thought it was really interesting that Tua wasn't the only person who has said that about him. And just makes me even more excited to see what he can do in this offense. And especially, like I said, there's a huge need, especially last year. Special teams, and especially in the return game, was a big problem. And he is a massive upgrade in that department. So you pair that with, if the defense turns out like we all think it will, the opportunities he's going to get setting up a really talented offense, it just, all of it really fits, and it's excited to think about. So just a nice little story about Achane there. This next news story comes from Bleacher Report. Christian Wilkins won't hold out from camp amid contract talks, which is awesome. We've seen a lot of players around the league who have taken a different route, and obviously in the history of the game, a lot of players have skipped or held out of training camp, and it's just another reason why I think the fans are going to love him even more, have loved him ever since he was a Dolphin. He's always been a great player to watch, very energetic. You can tell he's, a glue guy on the team and a glue guy with the fans. And I think, there's just another reason. And again, this past season, and honestly I think these past 2 seasons, he's really gotten better each year. And I'm excited to see what he does in Vic's Vic's defense. But he's such an underrated player, and great on the field and great off the field, and this is another reason why. And this also, I think, points to him getting a deal done, hopefully sooner rather than later. But I think those are all positive signs. Gets lost in the shuffle. I love Christian Wilkins, one of the better first-round picks we've had. If we did a top first-round picks ranking of the last 20 years, he would definitely be very high on that list. And I think, especially how his career started, and at the time, I don't think anybody really thought that. But he's really, in my opinion, he's gone above expectations for sure. This next news story I think is kind of funny. This comes from Pro Football Rumors. Tyreek Hill and the incident at the marina has reached a resolution. This is a quote in the article, quoting ESPN's Adam Schefter. Quote, "The parties to the incident, which occurred on June 18th, 2023, at the marina involving Tyreek Hill, have resolved their differences." So there you go. The two parties have made, I don't know what kind of agreement they went to or whatever happened with that. So, this is kind of important because I don't know if we all thought a suspension was going to happen, but it's just nice that this ended quietly and we're not talking about it anymore. It wasn't, like, even when it was reported, it wasn't that big of an incident. And again, we're going to have Tyreek Hill for hopefully the entire season. So thank God he's not going to miss any time because of a stupid whatever the heck happened on Father's Day that day. I have no idea. This next news story is an update on Dalvin Cook. I guess it comes from Bleacher Report, but I saw it on the Rich Eisen show, which is a sports show, if you're not familiar, sports talk show, where he did an interview, and he claims that the Dolphins have not reached out to him, and which was widely reported from multiple sources, that he was offered a deal. Jeff Darlington literally said on ESPN, if you guys remember that he wasn't happy with the offer the Dolphins gave him, and Dalvin Cook just straight up said that wasn't true. So I don't know, who knows who's telling the truth. I'm going to believe Dalvin Cook in this situation. I don't know where Jeff Darlington got that from. Maybe it was from an agent. I don't know, who knows. But the point is that the man has not been offered a contract. Now, the Nyheim Hines news with Buffalo is interesting. And you guys got to remember, Devin Singletary left in the offseason. So their running back depth chart is pretty bad. I know that their cap space isn't great. I think it's even worse than ours. So I have a hard time believing that that'll get done. Who knows if it will. Dalvin Cook said in the interview he would love to play with his brother James Cook in Buffalo, but that doesn't really mean anything. And also, that was brought up in the interview that the Jets haven't offered a contract either. A lot of people have pointed out the fact that maybe the Dolphins would wait until they get a really nice feel for what A-Chain looks like in training camp. I can't remember where I saw this. It was like in a video. I think it was Albert Breer on the Dan Patrick Show, where he was talking about Dalvin Cook and how the trade between the Vikings and the Dolphins, this is what he said, was pretty much a done deal, but the Dolphins backed out and got cold feet and didn't end up going through with the deal. But apparently that deal was basically done, and they actually agreed on compensation, but the Dolphins backed out for whatever reason. So this is a player that they're definitely interested in and have been interested in. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, and to add this, I completely forgot about this part. Excuse me. But they also have the suspension stuff that's looming over his head. Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk reported that the NFL might suspend Dalvin Cook for the allegations that his former girlfriend have had against him in the last week. I have not really kept up with that. Don't know the details of that. But that's just another thing to kind of throw onto the pile here. That's going to hurt his market. And I'm sure each team is going to do their due diligence and to see, okay, how long, what, is he going to get suspended? Is there a great chance of that? So that just throws another whole rigmarole in the situation, not to mention the fact that the running back market has there's no real market. It just is kind of contracts that are completely different from each other. There's not even that many players that are under long-term deals at all. I don't think there, other than like maybe Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey. Outside of that, I really don't know. Maybe Jamal Williams, who just signed with the Saints. I don't know how long that contract was, or even David Montgomery with the Lions. Like I don't know who has. I don't think anybody really has like over 3 years on any of those deals with those guys. So it's just a weird time to be a running back in the NFL. That's for sure. So who knows when this will get settled? I don't know. Maybe it'll never get settled. I would have liked to have this to have been settled already, but it is interesting. I'm interested to see how well. Sorry guys for that scratch sound. I'm interested to see. I mean, I think honestly the number one thing that I'm nervous about in training camp, one is Austin Jackson. I think that's not even close. That is the number one thing I'm worried about is Austin Jackson. And then I would say a close second would be the running backs for sure. and how good the run game is. And I think that's another thing in preseason that's going to be a big deal is the running game. And pass protection in the run game. That's going to be the storyline of the offseason, or for training camp and preseason for I think every Dolphins fan. Because the biggest issue last year that's exactly what the biggest issue was pass protection and no run game. And that's what led to Tua getting hurt. And I think that's what we're all going to wonder about. And then you got to wonder about the... I'm not even really concerned about the running back. Like, I love Raheem. He actually played a lot better than I thought he would last year. And then Achane, who I have a lot of question marks about with him running the ball. Because we've really never seen him in a scheme that fits him and a running plays that fit him. In college, I feel like he was not used in the right way. And he did struggle in the open field to make people miss. Especially for a smaller player, you would have liked to have seen him be better in the open field than he was after the catch. Or I would say when he has longer runs, it's better. But after the catch, his open field stuff wasn't great. So those are some of the things that I'm interested to see how the Dolphins use him in this offense and how well he plays. I think, well, that's obvious. I'm sorry. I don't want to be that guy. But, yeah, so I think those are the things that, this podcast will come out before the first day of training camp. So I'm interested to see. I think those are the things that are the more concerning ones is Austin Jackson and the run game itself. Like, who's going to step up and be that guy. And then obviously I think just to throw one more in there before I end the podcast, the third option on the offense is concerning. Who is going to be the third guy? Because Tyreek Hill and Waddle were literally that's the most consistent. Outside of them, there was no reliable third option. Mike Gesicki wasn't reliable at all last year. The run game was not reliable at all. So they didn't have a slot receiver. I mean, Trent Sherfield was their best third option. I would say that you could even, maybe Raheem Mostert. I think it would be a debate between those two. I would probably say Raheem's more reliable than Trent was, even though Trent made some plays last year. That would be an interesting argument to have. But yeah, they need a third option. And right now, I think the biggest candidate for that would be Robbie Anderson. So that's going to be an interesting plot. And Braxton Berrios, too, I think could be that guy. So I'm interested to see who can be that guy. The tight end position, just to throw another thing in here before... there's really nothing I have to say about that other than Higgins. I swear to God, I'm going to mess his first name up again. I always forget it. I'm pretty sure it's Elijah, but I always forget his first name. I love his game coming out of Stanford. I'm very excited to see because obviously he's transitioning from a receiver to tight end. I'm very interested to see how that plays out. I think he has a ton of talent. And I think he can eat his game he was a phenomenal run blocker at Stanford. He's a very big player, plays like it, very physical. So I think he has a real shot at actually making the team and could potentially be a really good tight end in the NFL. So he is a very interesting player. And yeah, I think those are the things that I'm interested to see the most in training camp. I think those are very important storylines to follow. I think those are like the biggest weaknesses on the team. I know some people would throw middle linebacker in there. I'm not really concerned about that position. I think it actually has quite a few options there and depth. Plus, not to disrespect the middle linebacker position, but it's not as important as it used to be. Not saying it's not important, but I think you don't have to have a great middle linebacker to be a great defense in the NFL. In my opinion. Plus, I think Jerome Baker, and I know a lot of people I don't understand why nobody brings him. He's very talented in my opinion, and I think he also is going to benefit from the change of defensive coordinator. So that really doesn't concern me all that much. But like I said, I would say tight end, can Elijah Higgins, I'm sorry if I'm messing up his first name, step up. The run game and Austin Jackson. Those are the three things that I'm most interested in. The defense doesn't really concern me at all. I love the talent and I love the coaching. But those three things from a personnel standpoint definitely worry me, and I'm interested to see how that looks in the first, especially the first week of training camp, and obviously the preseason. So that is it, guys. Just let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below, and I can't wait for the next podcast because we're gonna have a ton to talk about. So I'll see you guys in the next one.